This is the story of a new world. A world that begins in the mysterious and invisible universe of atoms and molecules, which combine in countless numbers to form everything we see and touch. It is the story of how man, investigating nature, has learned from nature's examples to join these same atoms and molecules to form substances never before seen under the sun. These new materials are the world of plastics, the world that nature forgot. So new and unexplored is the world of plastics that its future and its possibilities are only vague and colorful forms in the minds of men. The materials can have an infinite variety of color and shape, and for each a use. But only the coast of this new world has been touched. The rest is uncharted, and so filled with promise that no man dare predict what will be found there. Today, the artisans and architects of that world are just beginning to mix their paints, and the picture that will finally emerge has barely been started. A world in the making, all achieved by linking together a few simple molecules. A few simple molecules made from hazy, even simpler atoms. Atoms that move endlessly. Carbon atoms and pairs of hydrogen atoms. Simple ingredients for a world as lovely as the world of nature. Simple ingredients for a world as promising as the world of plastics. One of the most basic molecules is ethylene, formed from hydrogen and carbon. Ethylene is the basis of many other plastics, a molecule which in other industries is used to make alcohols and other chemicals. In the plastics industry, ethylene molecules are heated, move faster, and fuse together, forming the long strands of the plastic polyethylene, which is used for squeeze bottles, pipelines, and packaging materials. When pairs of chlorine atoms react with ethylene molecules, a new substance is formed, vinyl chloride. And as these molecules form chains, they give another plastic, polyvinyl chloride. A brittle material, vinyl becomes a useful plastic when a substance called a plasticizer is added. Slipping between the long strands, the plasticizer acts as a lubricant, allowing the molecules to slide over one another and form a flexible material. Another common chemical is benzene. When benzene reacts with basic ethylene, the result is styrene, a clear liquid used in making synthetic rubber. And when styrene molecules join, they form polystyrene, one of the most versatile plastics, useful for housewares, toys, and radio cabinets. A few simple atoms, a little heat, an endless amount of research, an inexhaustible variety of different plastics, and a brand new world. Plastics can be molded under a variety of temperatures and pressures, but under some conditions they develop unseen stresses. Polarized light reveals these stresses in patterns of color, enabling scientists to select conditions that produce stress-free products. Colors seen under polarized light may see the light of day, when in paint they are subjected to the rigid test of exposure to the elements. Today, plastics are an integral part of most paints and surface coatings. These are the acid tests of a vision of a world of plastics. A world that has already penetrated every home in the land. Today, we can see a part of this world in beautiful draperies, in stainless tabletops that are so useful they are commonplace, in radios, in durable floor tiles, or a refrigerator that is clean and neat and colorful. It appears in containers that reveal their contents, in packages that keep fruit and vegetables from losing their flavor and moisture. But above all, it appears in beauty, in patterns of black and gold and silver. For more and more, America's top designers are turning to these adaptable materials. Embedded in them, the beauty of wood is preserved. In a chair formed of them, the comfort of a night's reading is assured. The new materials protect a man's clothing when he is home, and they can also guard it when he travels. In the household of today, they are present everywhere, preserving man's memory of nature in panels of wood, preserving his memory of himself and his desires and his hopes in the fine grooves of a phonograph record. And as a man works, they surround him like the servants of another age. The world of plastics is present everywhere. Yet this presence is but a premonition of a future world. Our children will see a bit of that world, and our grandchildren will not see the end of it. A part of the home, plastics are also a part of the world of the scientists and engineers who think about the other side of tomorrow. Injected into a heart, a liquid plastic fills the myriad vessels which nourish it. And after the tissue has been dissolved away, the plastic furnishes a complete map of that great organ's circulation. In the strange and vital field of atomic energy, the new materials protect scientists from the danger of deadly radioactive dust. Dust generated by the experiments carried out in sealed rooms, which nevertheless must be entered to determine the results of the experiment. And engineers who dream of cars and turbines to power them instinctively think of plastics for their bodies. And even when man ventures under the sea, these materials go with him, forming today the shell of a two-man submarine, and tomorrow possibly the body of a storm-free undersea ship. Such things can only suggest the future. It has taken thousands of years to learn how to handle wood, copper, and iron. And now there are new materials which never before existed, whose names, styrene, vinyl, polyethylene, are still unfamiliar. All of them will help build the city of tomorrow. Lacking 1,000 years' experience, we do not know what form this city will take. For who can foretell a future dominated by the inquisitive spirit of man? Yet, like every city man ever built, it will be a city of nature shaped by man. A city of wood and stone and steel and concrete. But in addition, it will be a city transformed by man and his chemistry, and by the new materials that flow from the plants with the tall towers and the colorful pipes. A city built from the world that nature forgot.
An atomic bomb breaks loose from a mounting shackle in a B-47 jet over Florence, South Carolina, plummets to Earth, causing a sensational freak accident. There was near disaster for those within range of the TNT, that is the bomb's trigger. 6 were injured. The home of Walter Gregg was turned into a shambles. In the Gregg yard, the blast tore a 35-foot deep crater. But despite the havoc, authorities emphasized the explosion was not a nuclear blast. The bomb was not assembled for firing, standard procedure during transportation. No accident could make it explode, and there was no fission, no radioactive fission products revealed as the Air Force scoured the area in an intensive search for any information of value following the first accident of its kind in history. Automation, long a prediction, is revealed as reality. In this first plant of its kind, production is automatic, entirely controlled by electronics. A typewriter-like keyboard is the master control, setting out data and instructions on a punch tape, which in turn feeds the electronic computer. The computer translates the punch tape and sends the results directly into the machine tool production line, issuing coded instructions, automatically checking results. For example, the proper size drill is selected and moved into position. This new system, developed by the Hughes Aircraft Company, makes the use of precision mass production techniques possible for small plants. By cutting the time between the engineering work on a given part and its production, it cuts costs as well. Only occasional inspections and quality control checks are needed to make sure that everything stays on the beam in the electronically operated factory. As the opening date of the Brussels World's Fair nears, the elaborate pavilions of the 48 nations taking part are rushed to completion. America's building, the world's largest freestanding circular structure, will be an architectural landmark. Scores of international and commercial groups are also taking part in the rivalry for the attention of the 40 million visitors expected. One of the commercial exhibits is a vast diorama of the Belgian countryside, which will model a prophecy of progress in transportation. Under a complex electronic control system, the diorama will show the transformation from today into the world of the future. The atomium, fitting symbol for the first World's Fair of the atomic age.
For servicemen stationed in Europe spending a leave at the Brussels World Fair, the first order of the day was to get a bird's eye view. Generally acclaimed as the architectural hit of the fair was the American Pavilion, the largest circular building in the world. It looked over a pond surrounded by apple trees and a kaleidoscope of colorful flags. Central landmark of the fair was the huge atomium with its 9 spheres glinting in the sun, a visual expression of the exposition's theme, a more human world in the coming age of the atom. A wonderland plucked from the future. That's the way it all seemed to those lucky enough to see it. Below the cable cars sprawled nearly 500 acres of manicured green parks. The newest ideas in architecture were reflected in the spacious boulevards and buildings of advanced design. The array of buildings and displays did not just pop into place on a Belgian meadow. It took effort of brain, machine, and muscle. Right up to the deadline of the grand opening, April 17th, 1958, the frenzy of last-minute preparations was going on, for it takes a lot of hard work today to build a world of tomorrow. The USSR's enormous glass, steel, and aluminum structure was erected just a short walk from our own pavilion. 2 completely different approaches, reflecting drastically different ways of life, both ready for the formal grand opening by King Baudouin of Belgium and his military entourage. Representatives of the 48 countries with exhibits at the exposition held aloft national flags in honor of the event. Preceded by mounted troops, the King of Belgium toured the fairgrounds. As the leader of the host country, the young king had taken a strong personal interest in the planning and progress of the exposition. At the touch of King Baudouin's fingers, on a remote control device, fountains sprayed geysers of water into the air, the signal for the opening of the Brussels International Exposition. From all over the world, visitors were here to see the sights. Some of them had come a long way to enter these gateways into a dazzling fantasia of sight and sound. Servicemen on leave from posts and stations throughout Europe were enjoying the event too. There'd be a lot to write the folks back home. At the American exhibit, a performance by a crack United States Air Force band hailed the opening of the fair. The American ambassador to Belgium, together with President Eisenhower's personal representative to the Brussels International Exposition, welcomed the crowd outside the American pavilion. A ribbon across the entrance was cut, and the American pavilion was officially opened. The immediate impression was of space, light, water, and trees. Designed by Edward Stone, the American Pavilion received wide acclaim as an outstanding architectural achievement. There was a relaxed, free, and easy atmosphere about everything. Visitors were even encouraged to sit down and rest from the strain of walking so much. And European guests thought this a gracious and kind gesture. But invariably, they did not stay seated long. There was so much to see, like a cross-section of a giant redwood tree. We weren't trying to dazzle Europeans with our industrial might. They know our factories, our shiny cars, but do they know about us as human beings? Do they know about the love and affection we bear for children? Do they know how we feel when we step into the privacy of a voting booth? At the fair, voting machines were installed for visitors to pick their favorite Americans. The winners, by the way, were Abraham Lincoln, Kim Novak, and Louis Armstrong. Do the people of Europe understand how our system of free enterprise works? How great companies are owned by thousands of shareholders who have invested their savings in American industry?
You're watching Sleepcore. Pleasant dreams.
I'm Bill Roberts, Science Department, in a dilemma. Our per capita income is just above 40th in the nation. There's a scarcity of jobs and opportunities, both on the farms and in the cities. Our best young people are leaving the state by the thousands. This is a gloomy picture, but there is something that we can do about it. We're primarily an agricultural state. Our basic resources are land and people, and we can build on this great heritage.
Winds of change are sweeping across our landscape, turning rural crossroads into towns, towns into cities, cities into urban centers. And to feed this shifting and rising population, our farmlands are transforming, our industries widening their enterprise. Tobacco and cotton, though still profitable crops, have lost their monopoly over our best soils in the face of a new agricultural opportunity, the production and processing of food. It is said that North Carolina will become a horn of plenty for the East, and with good cause. In her fertile soils, vegetable crops luxuriate twice over through a 280-day coastal plains season. Fruits are mellowed in a rare Appalachian climate. 50 inches of rainfall annually join her many rivers spilling westward toward the Mississippi, eastward into the vast coastland of Atlantic fishing waters.
A meal in 15 minutes. Fish from the Chesapeake Bay, frozen just like the greens from New Jersey. Potatoes, dehydrated from Idaho. A salad made of lettuce from California, savored with a dressing ready-made in Illinois. For dessert, cherries shipped in frozen from Michigan. These are processed foods, a meal almost cooked before it's purchased.
We could not provide this meal away from home, this variety of foods, if it weren't for the food processing.
Well, now, why not, Red?
Well, Bill, back in the old days when I first started in this business, you used to have to keep the chickens in the basement. You'd have to go down, kill those chickens, pick them, cut them up. You used to have half cattle coming through your back door. Had to have a fancy meat cutter to break down that half cattle, get it down into sections of the parts of the meat that you wanted to use. Then it would be very difficult to get each size of portion, just cut into exact size you wanted. And also you had this job of peeling potatoes. You had to do a lot of potato peeling, had to do a lot of cutting, whereas today all of that type of food comes in, ready to go to the oven or to the frying pan, and the uniformity means so much. You got 4 people sitting at a table like this, you're sure that 4 people's gonna get the exact same quality and the same portion. We feed 3,000 people a day, 1 million meals a year. So many people eating away from home these days, you might call this mass feeding here, institutional feeding. And just like the airlines, the schools, the governments, the hospitals, we have to be pretty demanding when it comes to food we buy. Quality, standards, and uniformity.
If the hungry American public likes its meals in a hurry at the restaurant, it also likes home meals without fuss and bother. To get semi-prepared foods, the housewife turns to one of the biggest food buyers of all, the chain supermarket.
The story of the supermarket is really evidence of a food revolution in America. Convenience and time savings. The customers are looking for foods that are convenient. They no longer look for the items that you have to soak, stir, and mix. They look for items now that you heat, serve, and eat. Whether this food revolution is caused by new marketing techniques or by the increased tempo of people on the move is hard for me to say. But one thing for sure, we in the supermarkets are going to have to please the housewife. She will always be the boss.
Most housewives I know are much too busy to spend time in the kitchen, and even spend time shopping for that matter. Thank heaven, They're able to get so many foods at the grocery store that are already half prepared, saving time. Think of how long it would take to shuck all that corn. I don't think it's necessary, really, today to shop but once a week if you're smart and if you have a freezer.
Well, I know what some of you are thinking. The old-fashioned taste of old-fashioned cooking, back before there was mention of food processing. But before some of you make the reckless accusation that foods don't taste like they used to, beware of our independent housewife.
I think one of the most ridiculous charges in the world is that you can't be a good cook and use processed food. I buy as many foods that will save me time as possible, to save time, to devote to a family of 4 children and a husband. And I think, really, that the art of cooking is in the proper selection of food and in seasoning. That's what makes a satisfied family.
One of the big problems is the distance that we have to transport some of these convenient foods. As an example, we have frozen foods coming from California, up in New Jersey, and down in Georgia. We feel that a great many of these items could be grown and processed here in North Carolina. And it would be a tremendous saving to the consumer in the freight rate alone. We are very North Carolina conscious. Let me show you. We feature products that are processed in the state of North Carolina: baby food, country ham, dairy products, pickles, various other items. And we hope that as the years go by that there will be hundreds and hundreds of other items processed in North Carolina that we can sell during this sale.
Well, I know that this is good news for our farmers and processors in this state to know that they have an outlet such as this to sell their products.
Supermarkets, restaurants, food brokers, and canners are all looking for the dependable raw product. They realize that there will always be a demand for fresh foods, but they seek to convince the farmer that food processing is a serious business proposition, not a dumping ground for occasional fresh market gluts. Although the food industry offers financial improvement and added security, Tar Heel farmers will not be able to reap fantastic rewards from it as they sometimes do from produce buyers. The contracting processor or the fresh produce buyer, a choice that the food producer considers carefully.
Farmers who still take a lot of their fancy produce to the open fresh market rather than to the more stable market, the food processor. Here's FCX manager Frank Tanner in Lumberton.
Our chief problem down here is developing and receiving from the farmers a quality raw product which is necessary for us to fulfill our orders and ship out to our markets. This winter, we went up to the Sandhill section to see about a supply of peaches. While we were up there to the meeting, one of the big growers, after the meeting had developed for some time, he said, "Mr. Tanner, we can adequately sell our first quality merchandise. What we're interested in is for you handling our cold peaches." I said, "Gentlemen," I said, "the term cold in our business means garbage." I said, "In other words, you want us to be your garbage disposal?" I said, "No." I said, "We've got to have just a finer quality to go in our cans as what can be attained. We can't improve it." So that means that we really have to have an adequate quality supply of raw material so that we can, in turn, turn out a quality product.
The nucleus for food research is at North Carolina State. The 25-man Department of Food Scientists keep in close touch with the food farmer, the processor, and the consumer. Now, our research scientists already have many achievements to their credit. Their work, for example, in cutting the curing time of country hams, removing all flavors from milk, prolonging the shelf life of broilers and eggs, producing sweet potatoes and pumpkin flakes. And we also have a Department of Extension that provides information for those people who are working in the field, to keep them up to date, to keep them modern, progressive. Also, we have a training program that educates many young men and women to become leaders and specialists in the food industry.
Now, in return, in future, would students
at institutions like North Carolina State College, they could send students into the field to us or anyone in the food processing business. And those students could learn from industry what they can't learn from textbooks. The last 2 summers, we have sent one of our young men out of our plant up to North Carolina State College to work with Dr. Hoover in research on our product primarily. Now, this boy has come back, has learned a lot, and has been a help to us.
I got out of high school in 1960, and I worked for a year, and I started reading about produce processors getting started, and I became quite interested in it. And I came out and applied for a job, and I was hired. I worked 1 season with them, and a chance came up for me to go to State College for the summer months and work with Dr. Hoover in his lab.
Our instruction program permits students who want a career in the food industry to prepare themselves with a university degree. We sketched a story of food processing in North Carolina, a modern version of a story as old as man himself, the best possible preparation of his daily bread. Food processing is not an easy industry. This mining of food from the soil, this paring and readying of food for the market squares of the nation and the world. Food processing is an industry that will generate new markets, new jobs, new hope. It is a fresh chapter in the 200-year-old history of North Carolina's agricultural way of life.
There are ways to beat the most common World's Fair affliction, sore feet. View it from the air. You can take a helicopter sightseeing tour, or stay closer to the ground and still get an aerial view. The answer is the monorail ride, a short version of the experimental transportation method that these scouts may someday see on a regular basis. Hung from a single track, the trains are capable of high speeds, but here at the fair they set a leisurely pace, the better for viewing the sights below. This same type of transportation is in use in Tokyo. It was built for the Olympic Games, and in Seattle, where the overhead cars ran to the fair site there. This one in New York gives you an unparalleled view of the amusement area, a section of the fair that has been enlarged since last year. So there you have what many experts say is the train of the future. Swift and sure it is, but one word of caution, please do not get off between stations.
We live in an age of cities. Each year, more and more Americans are traveling between these cities by air. Faster and larger planes transport these travelers from one city to another in less and less time. But the reduction in intercity flight time that has resulted from the introduction of these faster airplanes is frequently offset by airport to downtown travel delays on the ground. On the trip from Manhattan to downtown Los Angeles, normally requiring 5 hours of flying time, the current ground transportation time is over 2 hours. The development of the supersonic transport promises to cut this flying time in half. But the ground transportation time could still be 3 or even more hours. This problem is well known to the many air travelers who have experienced frustrating delays, much of the delay often occurring while traveling from airport to downtown. What can be done about this problem? One solution is the addition of another link to the balanced transportation system proposed by the General Electric Company's Transportation Systems Division. As part of this network, General Electric introduces the Aerial Transport System. Transportation for a supersonic age designed for airport to downtown, airport to airport travel. This system, linked to the other transportation system components, highways for trips that require the flexibility of the modern automobile, rapid transit systems for travel in metropolitan areas, medium-distance high-speed corridor trains for intercity travel, provides communities with the means for moving more travelers faster, but with ever greater convenience. The General Electric aerial transport system affords its passengers safety and comfort while speeding them along their way at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour in all types of weather. Utilizing the third dimension, the airspace over built-up areas, the aerial transport system can be erected rapidly and attractively over highway median strips or adjacent to heavily traveled downtown to airport traffic arteries without disturbing existing homes or businesses. Thus, it can forge that important link between our airports and central business districts which has for so long been lacking. The concept of using the third dimension to accommodate public transportation is not new to city planners. The airspace over this narrow river valley in Wuppertal, Germany provided the most feasible corridor for this transit system. As in that river valley, the airspace over many of today's rivers of highway traffic may provide the most feasible corridor for the aerial transport system. The prototype for the General Electric aerial transport system has undergone extensive testing. The overhead structure has been designed to be aesthetically pleasing as well as economical to build. The weather-protected, enclosed beamway, made of steel or pre-stressed concrete, contains the running surface for the power units, vertical rails for the guide wheels, and electrical transmission lines for power, signaling, and communication. Each of the power units, or bogies, has two driving axles powered by electric traction motors. Power is taken from conductors running within protected beamways. The aerial transport system's bogies are equipped with pneumatic tires. Specially engineered guidance and suspension systems provide the passenger with an exciting new experience in travel comfort. Switching is performed by the use of essentially a railway-type switch turned upside down. This model shows the movable central part of this switch articulated in two elements, functioning as any conventional railway switch. It is simple, safe, reliable, and rapid. The attractive cars are similar to this one, developed for modern rapid transit, and include baggage handling facilities and other conveniences for the air traveler. Stressing passenger comfort and convenience, the cars are climate-controlled, whisper-quiet, smooth riding. An automatic fare collection system provides passengers with quick and easy access to the system's cars. Advanced process computer control establishes running schedules and programs, supervises and monitors overall system performance. Computer control assures safe, speedy, and economical operation for the aerial transport system. Used as an additional link between neighboring airports, between airport and downtown and other transportation systems, the General Electric aerial transport system provides today's city planners with an up-to-date, efficient, economical, and safe transportation system that can move tomorrow's air travelers faster with comfort, convenience, and reliability. A transportation system that can help travelers avoid many of today's problems and tomorrow's dilemmas by providing them with transportation for a supersonic age.